Hello, everybody. Chris Samartage, Brotherhood of Light Show Current YouTube channel. And we got another monthly show on the 60s and early 70s light shows. And we're going to feature a bunch of light show pictures from old and new. So this is for you light show enthusiasts. All right, this is the show, vintage and new light show photos from 1966 to 2024. I'm Chris from Psychedelic Light Show Review. I did 15 shows with Steve Powolowski back in the pandemic, and this is kind of an extension. We showed a lot of light show stuff and tried to explain what was going on. So for all your newcomers, Light Show Preservation Society and on YouTube, you will see, I'll explain old school light shows, Fillmore East, Fillmore West. And so what we got here is we got Jimi Hendrix on the right. We got Paul Kantner from Marin. We've got the Grateful Dead on the left from Fillmore East. I think that might be Sid Vicious. I mean, not Sid Vicious. Anyway, the guy from Pink Floyd, Sid Barrett, excuse me. And then the center shot is a light show I did at the Fillmore with the Allman Betts Band. So let's get on with the show. So this show is a follow-up to my 100 vintage light show photos that I did 1966 to 1972 and some in the 80s. This is around 50 photos, probably 45 are vintage, and there's another 5 or 10% that are going to be modern stuff. So I'm going to do some comparison stuff to what a light show looks like now and what it looked like. But if you want to go on Brotherhood of Light Show Current and check out the show that I did, it has 100 of these old light show shots in it. We're going to also feature Pig Light in this one, and we're going to feature Lightworks Planet Earth from DC. So we're going to have a couple new guys in here, or at least mention them in here. So let's check out the next shot. So here is two examples of the one on the right here is the Allman Betts Band. It's done recently, and you can see they're playing in a big giant Carolina theater. We're using a 20K laser projector or something like that. You can see the incredible brightness, the matching colors of my lighting system, and you can also see that the screen is probably 24 to 25 feet image height wise, trim wise, probably 35 feet wide at least, almost the full proscenium of the stage. And then we've got this shot on the left, which is shot around 99. And it is the Allman Brothers at the Beacon Theater. And once again, I'm using a thinner screen with a teaser, but it's still a 25-foot trim above the drums to the lighting rig. And that's what's great about theaters, man. You can really get a huge surface and height to project on and really involve the whole audience with the show itself. So this page, we're going back to 1966, 1967, and there's Cream at the Fillmore. You can see they're projecting on a wall, and there was like a 90 to 100 foot throw. They were shooting slides, and they're shooting all kinds of images behind the band. And then there's a lower shot here which looks like it could be Jimmy Page, but I don't know. That could be the Fillmore East. And then there's this Pink Floyd Liquid, I believe, from Fillmore East. And then there's Clapton on the right in the color. That's at the Fillmore. And then also the Sly and the Family Stone, and that's Elliot Landy's photo. And you can see that that's the Fillmore East has this huge, once again, a 25-foot high trim screen with a rear projection, and you can just see how much more intense the Fillmore East looks. Now, also, this guy works for Columbia Records and shoots all these album covers and interior stuff. I mean, this is like a professional Madison Avenue photographer that's brought in to shoot this stuff. On the West Coast, these are just guys that are shooting it like, local hippie dudes with 35 millimeter cameras. So that's one of the reasons. The first reason Fillmore East always looks better is its rear projection. They got a short throw, super bright. They got plenty of trim, and they're also using professional photographers, including Amy Lee Rothschild, who is, had the gear and was the staff photographer at the Fillmore East. Okay, this page is kind of a shocker. People are like, what? Where's the light show? Probably every one of these shots, some guy was at the front row with a flash, and he flashed the band and completely blew out the light show. You can see the screens. First on the left next to me that's at the Fillmore. You can see the wall, and that is Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And you can also see this corrugated drum riser. It's always in the Fillmore, the old Fillmore, the Geary and Van Ness, Geary and Fillmore Street. Fillmore is that weird choreographed metal drum riser. Now, the one on the left, the next one over is Jeff Beck, and that is in Boston at the Boston Tea Party, and they're projecting it right on the wall. You can see it. Now, this other one to the left with the American flag in it, you can see the top of the screen isn't more than maybe 12, 15 feet high where it hits the ceiling. Now, the one above that is Fleetwood Mac. I don't know if that's the Fillmore West, but it kind of looks like it. Then this Led Zeppelin one in the middle here. You can see these screens are maybe 15 feet above the amplifiers, and there's no lights. And then this one of Rod Stewart above me on the right here, that's the Fillmore West. And you can see if you're up front, the artist actually looks taller than the screen, but you go to the back of the room, the screen is about 15 feet taller than the artist, but still, it's very low trim. And I just collected these pictures so people would understand that it's not the fact that the light show artists were bad artists in San Francisco. It's the buildings were not set up with rear projection, and they had 110 to 120 foot throws. And if some clown with a flash shot a picture, it completely would blow out the light show, as you can see in every one of these pictures. And then here is the Fillmore East, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Fillmore East, and actually the one on the left is the Band of Gypsies. But you can see with Joshua's light show, he's got this huge, massive light show going on behind Hendrix. And the one on the right here, it's somebody colorized it. It's a copy. I had a black and white version on my other show. So that's kind of a repeat, but I just thought it looked really cool. We're going to see it again. So now you can see how superior the Fillmore East look. And these are probably, once again, these guys are in here shooting for album covers. They might even use Hasselblad cameras and stuff like that. I mean, this is some professional stuff here. Okay, so I just collect these pictures, and the Jefferson Airplane, it's SF Fillmore. There's a page called Jefferson Airplane bringing up the years, and the guy, whoever runs it, or people post all these old light show shots, and I just collect them, and then when I get enough of them, I do a show like this. And this one up here on the left, this is definitely some of the early Fillmore stuff. And you can see this kind of clear liquid that's flowing across the screen. That really looks like the optics of the Brotherhood of Light, Brotherhood machines. It had the glass convex lens. You just see how it's such a three-dimensional looking liquid. And that's what was so cool about those machines. And there's a color one in the center. And then later on, this looks like the Glenn McKay painted slides with Yorma on the right here, as probably, a year or two later after this early 66 stuff on the left. So if there's one artist that seems to be more prevalent in vintage shows, vintage light show pictures, it's Jefferson Airplane. The one on the left down in the corner here looks like Glenn McKay did a lot of liquids, painted slides. And the other ones were heavy water. And you could see she's laid out a bunch of different cutouts and has liquids in the middle and slides. And it was just a more mature looking show that happened maybe in 69 and 70, opposed to the early liquids we saw on the previous page. So we got 2 pages, Jefferson Airplane, and thank you to their Facebook page for showing me these photos. So this is the big variety page, and then once again, I just collect this stuff off Facebook. So the one on the top left is Sir Lord Baltimore. And then the guy in the middle is Bill Champlin from Sons of Champlin. And then the guy on the right is Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. I think that's probably a Fillmore West shot, how dim the light show looks. Now, the one down here on the left is Canned Heat, and they look like they're really getting a good projection, really bright. It could be RP, but those are a bunch of variety of slides and liquids. And then we have Janis Joplin in the middle, and it's either exposed weird or it's a Fillmore West where the light show, they're shooting 150 feet across or 120 feet across the room, and you just see these dim liquids. But if you're in the audience, it looks cool because your naked eye will adjust better than the camera. So it's kind of a cool black and white page, vintage stuff here. So once again, I collect the stuff, I put them in folders. I don't necessarily write notes or anything on it. I just collect it. And then when I get enough stuff, I make a show. So that's what I'm doing here. So I think this big shot on the left is the Electric Factory in Philadelphia. And you can see right below me all these overhead projectors up in a balcony. And a lot of times we would end up having a balcony kind of in the middle of the room like that where the light show would be. And then they'd shoot. I think the audience is, the stage is to the left, to over there. No, over, well, where my hand is over here. And then I think the shot on the right is Avalon Ballroom, some girl just dancing in the liquid lights. And my cat just came in. Come here, baby. And this other one is the Grateful Dead here at the Velvet Hammer, and there's a series of shots, and there's 2 slides of the light show on the bottom. So I'm petting my cat down here. She wants more food. Anyway, so these are vintage stuff that I just collect, and I throw them in there, and then you can see this is what it looked like back in the old days. Pretty funky, but we thought it was awesome. Wasn't these fancy theaters or arena rock like today. Okay, so this is Tim Pace in the one that says 1967. They're in D.C., and they are shooting a light show around the theater with screens, and is Jimi Hendrix on stage, which this is a repeat, but I found out it was actually a Jimi Hendrix show, and I thought it was really cool. So there's a thing called Belly Button Window, and they talk about these 2 shows that Hendrix did here. But then Tim continues to do light shows to today, and it's called Lightworks Planet Earth is the name of his light show, and he does all the stuff at Nissan Pavilion. He's a video director, but he also went on the road with Rush, and these 2 other shots are kind of classic light show looks back in the 70s with Rush, and there's a logo. And I was going to do a show with him, but when the pandemic ended, we all went back to work, so we quit doing those shows. So I just thought I'd throw Tim in here because he's one of the pioneers, and he did stuff at the Fillmore East, one of the tryout nights. And maybe we'll have a show with him on it one of these days. Okay, so Jimi Hendrix, I don't know where it's from. It could be from the Fillmore East, it looks like. Up there on the left. This other shot is some guys in Europe that had a bunch of projectors that did this massive white. It's really cool to do like a complete wraparound screen like that with all these liquids. thought I'd throw that in there. I don't know who they are or who the band is. Now, the Grateful Dead on the left bottom is at the Berkeley Community Theater, and that's Abercrombie Light Show, George Holden. And then the middle Grateful Dead is Fillmore East Grateful Dead, Joshua Light Show. So these are cutting some nice color vintage stuff from a few different venues. Okay, so we're going to step into some modern stuff and some old stuff. So there is Hendrix at the Fillmore East, which we saw earlier. And then here's a show. I just got off tour. I did Allman Betts Band. And as you can see, there's a real similar color palette. And I'm using mushroom slides and some liquids, keying them together. That I pre-recorded to the music. And then this one down here is Nick Mason's light show, and he's got this girl doing liquids. There's 3 different projectors that kind of mirrored each other, and look at the color palette. They're all quite similar. So something from the Fillmore to nowadays, which is 2024 tours. Both these pictures on the left, and then here is the one in the middle below Hendrix. Is my colors when I change. I just change the back slide and the colors in the front, and you can just see I've got all kinds of colors. I'm using probably a 12K projector at some theater somewhere. I don't know. I can't remember where that shot's from. Okay, so this is a video wall, and this takes place in 50-year anniversary of the Summer of Love in Golden Gate Park, where we set up a video wall. And Roger McNamee, the guy down in the left-hand corner, kind of looking at the camera here, he put together this band with a bunch of different musicians from the Bay Area, including Jack Cassidy, on these upper 2 shots, and they're doing White Rabbit. And then the shot with Roger is they're doing Time from the Chambers Brothers. Time Has Come Today. And I don't know what this other shot is. I think it's more of a Grateful Dead jam they're doing on the middle green liquid. But that's all during an evening in the summer solstice in 17. So that's 50 years later from the Summer of Love, and there was about 18,000 people, and I was doing liquids with Roger's lighting guy, and I just wanted to throw those in there. I thought they looked really cool, old school liquid light show. So here we are. We got the black and white are the Fillmore East. I don't know who that band on the upper left is. It could be Steve Miller. I don't know. The bass player here is Barry Oakley, and that's from the Fillmore East, and that's probably Joshua Light Show. Now, the color shot in the center is from the Fillmore West, and it's taken from the Fillmore East album, and you can see all the light show projectors shooting 120 feet I was talking about earlier. And then you can see these 2 Duane Allman and Dickie Betts playing, and it's the guy shooting from the front row, and you really can't even see the light show screen because the angle's so extreme. But so that's kind of Fillmore West versus the Fillmore East, and it just, there was no comparison when it came to photographs of the light show itself. It was just so much better in the theater setting of the Fillmore East. And here we go. We got Pig Light Show, Fillmore East, and they kind of took over when Josh left, and they were like alternative light show. And there they are with 10 years after, and you can see they got some really cool liquids. So I want to make sure we get Pig Light with Mark in there because he was part of the whole vintage scene. So that's some of the better color stuff. Once again, you can see the Fillmore East always had such great colors. So this is a different page here. So as the 70s, like 72, 73, 74, 75, wore on, these English bands, these are all English bands, started to adapt different stage looks. So the first one up here in the top left is Peter Gabriel and Genesis, and you can see they got two eyeballs and this green sunset thing going on. So they had like a triple screen. They're very theatrical. They started bringing theatrical things in, and Gabriel was in costumes. And the one over to the right is Yes, and they had some kind of big three-dimensional set, and they would change colors and stuff. And so you could see they started using props and risers and different backdrops, and then Rainbow on the left here, that the big Rainbow, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, which is like a heavy rock band. They have, of course, a banner and lighting, but this Rainbow changed colors and was kind of like a giant light show, rear projection color thing. It would do rainbows, would do purples and greens, and do chases. And then on the right over here, we got Pink Floyd. They had a big round screen. And in this particular, it just looks like a sunrise, or a giant sun, but they had all kinds of projection and narrative stuff going on. So these guys have all taken the 60s light shows and sort of adapted them in a different way. So the English were kind of, cutting edge when it came to stage design. And, of course, Pink Floyd went on, and Genesis, and Rainbow stage was pretty much the height of their staging. But Yes had many different looks over the years. So this is me. There's my MX-50 with the Korg Captivators and V4 mix, and that Allman Brothers logo would go up on a video screen, and we were using a 4x3 format, and I had some computers hooked up, and then the rig on the left on my hip there is the system that ran the computer for the video wall. Now here I am, this day and age. This is just recently taken in Boston area off my tour, and I have a 8-channel HD mixer with a bunch of Mac computers and a bunch of VJ programs, still using the same concept of the 60s, just using computers and mixers with the Akai 40 mixers here. And then you can see that they're rehearsing on stage, and there's a 12K projector that's projecting. So I just wanted to show that we're still doing this, but it's a lot more modern and different these days. And just to let everybody know, this is what's happening in Las Vegas, the Sphere. And that is an accurate picture. The stage is this tiny little thing down here on the left. And the light show is like 100% larger than anything else in the room. And it's this massive pixel map. And people go to just experience this crazy visuals that go along with it. And so the light shows from 67 has turned into this really wild thing. It also has an exterior area that does advertising and light shows for the events, and just some beautiful stuff. And the thing's really a success, and everybody's going. So I'm going to sign off and just leave you guys with my cover photos, and check it out, man. It's going to be Vintage Light Show number 2, around 50 shots.